So to get it started, I'll give you some stats for the season so far, because I know Miff loves a stat. So we'll run through a few things at the moment. Celtic have played 23 games so far in all competitions, so that's across the Scottish Premiership, the League Cup and the Champions League. As we know, we're clear at the top of the table. We're in the semi-finals of the League Cup, where we'll face Kilmarnock in January, and we're now out of European competition for another season after finishing 4th in Group F of the Champions League. Overall, of the 23 games we've played, we've won 16, drawn 2 and lost 5. At the moment, James, based on those numbers, mixed opposition, a range of competitions, but your initial assessment of those figures?
Yeah, just looking purely at the stats is a wee bit misleading if you're looking at how do you assess this team's performance and its progress, because even within those defeats, there was great progress and a lot for them to learn on. Speaking obviously about Europe, the only game we've dropped in the league in this last wee period, St Mirren, the only game we've lost. That was just one of those days. I think Ange learned a lot from that. Don't put 6 players, 6 changes on at once, especially if you're not going to put the double porridge midfield of Moy and Turnbull.
The double porridge. You couldn't just let the Turnbull praise stay for too long.
Balanced man.
The double porridge, how offensive.
No, it was just too many changes, and it was a slow midfield against a really motivated St Mirren team, as we saw on Saturday there. They know how to get themselves organised, and the manager's doing a great job there. So that was just one bad day at the races and back to it, and we've been back to it in flawless since. So I think there's a lot of progress. What I'm really enjoying is seeing rotation without any drop in standards whatsoever. When we were away at Leverkusen with Paul last year, our assessment of the game after was the drop between the guys who started the game and the guys who come on. It was too vast. That's changed, and I think that's going to tighten up furthermore in January and furthermore in the summer.
Yeah, I think that night in Leverkusen, Albion Ajeti came on, for example. Just when you're struggling, you didn't have that depth and that quality. Miff, at the moment, before we get into it in a bit more detail, just your general response on those results across the 23 games so far.
Well, I think the results are excellent, but it's more to do with the consistency and the level of performance as well, which is really the main barometer that the manager uses to judge the team. I think that the fans are coming round to that as well now. The fact is that we, even if you look at it as a calendar year, because it would be accepted that about this time last year was the time we really felt we were starting to see something in terms of cohesion in the team. The first 11 was really good, and you felt the message that the way the manager wanted to play was getting across to the majority of the squad. If you then fast forward that a year to now, to be sitting where we are at this point, bearing in mind at this time last year I was happy being within 10 points of Rangers.
Yeah.
We're now 9 points in front. So that just tells you everything you need to know. What a job Ange's doing.
Yeah. Depending on cup progress in terms of where we get to in the League Cup and the Scottish Cup, Celtic will play something in the region of 52 games this season, and that's a fairly notable drop from previous seasons where we'd be closer to 60 games as a result of the Champions League qualifiers. So at this moment, 23 games played, we're not far off being at the halfway point, give or take. And in terms of comparables between this season and last season, so we're 15 games in now after the weekend. So after 15 league games of last season, Celtic had 10 wins, 2 draws and 3 defeats, resulting in a points tally of 32. This season we sit 10 points better off on 42 points after 15 games, so sizable difference. At this stage last season, we'd scored 31 goals from our 15 games to give us an average of 2.06 goals per game. This season we've scored 50, so an average of 3.33 goals per game. Despite the points difference, we had only conceded 10 goals after 15 games last season. However, we have conceded a few more, and we've conceded 13 this time around, but nothing to be worried about, I wouldn't say. So, Miff, we've won 14 out of our 15 league games this season, and we're looking very, very strong there at the moment.
Absolutely. Helped by the fact that there has been some disruption to the centre defensive partnership, but despite that, we've not conceded too many more goals.
Yep.
Is that
too many more? Yeah, that's okay.
Too many more. Starfield's been injured, Carter Vicker's been injured. Jens has been in and around the starting lineup, so for there to have been disruption and still have such a acceptable defensive record. I think it's again testament to the structure of the team, because it's not necessarily just about the centre half pair, and it's how the team defends as a whole.
Yeah.
Starting with the guys up front. So no, I mean the numbers speak for themselves. And we've cranked up the pressure on our rivals, and I think that's now beginning to tell.
Yeah, it looks like it. James, you mentioned that loss at St Mirren in September, and I think I totally agree with you. It looks like it's been a pretty valuable lesson for Ange in terms of squad rotation. So he's still rotating the squad and very effectively, but it's not 5 and 6 changes, it's 3 and 4 changes, and he's used the squad very smartly since that afternoon.
You can see that, the medical team will tell you exactly that, because we're not seeing the injuries that were building up last year. It was inevitable. The injuries were going to clock up last year because so much football, all of the football, all 90 minutes, and the intensity we play at, it's just inevitable you're going to pick up injuries like that. With the squad we've now got to rotate guys, like you're saying, the guy who ran on to pick up the ball, Jota, was on the bench, and he's not commonly on the bench, but often on the bench, because we've got quality throughout the squad to allow a bit of rest for guys like Jota, which is ridiculous.
Yeah. We mentioned, you and I done the post-match after the game on Saturday, and it was a triple substitution of Jota, Giakoumakis and Abada coming on. That's frightening, that, and domestically it's streets away from anything anybody can produce. But Celtic are always strong domestically, but it just shows you that healthy squad for how we're building.
No personals on this, but last year that is Jamesy, Mikey Johnson and Ajeti.
I knew he was going to say Mikey Johnson.
But that is a big change, isn't it? In the space of 12 months. Because that is the 3 guys you'd be bringing on if you'd kept the same squad as last year.
Yeah, but also at times bringing on Adam Montgomery, guys like that, with all due respect, talented young guys, but different levels, and the quality we're bringing on at this moment in time is incredible. Actually, Maurice Jens obviously went off with an injury, and you replace him with Karl Starfelt, who's effectively first choice centre half, and there's just quality across the board, Miff, throughout this squad.
Absolutely. You think back to last season, the changes you were making. Not happy with Forrest being coded in there,
and I'm not happy with Johnson.
It was just that point, it was true.
Even at times, I think Owen Moffat was getting he got a cup winners medal. He came on the cup final, I think, didn't he?
Playing at Ross County.
So that's we're just light years away for that. And again, that's no disrespect to the guys that did step in last season. They obviously played their part. But if we want to get better, I think that was made clear in the summer, or prior to the summer, by Beaton and Rogic being moved on. That for me was a bit of a watershed moment to say, look, we know we need better.
Yeah, changing of the guard type stuff, wasn't it? Guys that had been around for a long, long time. Good servants to the club, but it was time for something new, and that's what we're seeing.